It's a marathon, not a race. Just one of the key things that Uber is going to go through in his short video podcast today. Welcome to the session, Uber. How are you?
Thanks a lot for having me on the show, Amit. I'm great.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Let's go straight into it. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about your business and what kind of services you're providing right now.
Sure thing. So I run InvoiceBerry, which is an online invoicing tool for small business owners. And I also launched Blog Handy, which is a blogging platform. So small businesses can add a blog to your existing websites in a few minutes. It's all about making life for small business owners easier.
Love it. And hey, look, small business owners can do with an easier life. It's very tough out there. So thanks for creating such a business. Now, InvoiceBerry, it's been around for 15 years now. And first of all, congratulations for that. Not many business owners make it to 15 years. However, you shared a very important concept earlier on that what's contributed to one of your successes is that you've been outsourcing quite a lot of your business to maintain the profitability of it. I thought we can zoom into that in this session for today. So do you talk us through the process of where you once had a business where you had staff, employees, and you had your own office to then outsourcing all of it and how you roughly went about it at a high level?
Sure thing. So initially I thought, in order to grow a real business, sort of what my parents had, you have to have employees, you have to have an office, you have to have an address where people can turn up. So that's what I did, right? So I signed an office lease. I had my employees move in there. And then, the first things appear like, oh, can I actually work from home? Because it's difficult to drive to the city center to find parking in the city center. You have to deal with cleaning companies and so on, right? So quite early on, I realized this is not really what I want to focus on. I've always been about profitability, and that just sucks a lot of mental space and of money out of your pocket. So then already before COVID, I decided to slowly move remote again. And I offered everyone, if they want to work remote, they can do it. And a lot of people, employees with young kids or, employees who didn't always want to drive with the car to the city center, they chose this option. And then whenever someone actually quit, I reevaluated, could we actually get a remote employee anywhere else in the world for this job? Could we automate it? Could we build some new processes or SOPs to just, streamline that process? And that way we just increased our profitability a lot. And this was sort of a natural step, just whenever someone decided to move on from InvoiceBerry, to just reevaluate, take a moment and reevaluate if it actually was the best solution or if there's a new, better solution.
It's amazing. So you really used those kind of moments when somebody left as a moment to stop and reflect, which is so important in business, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it just, I think it hit me once where I started panicking when someone left, and I realized that 80% of the tasks that person did could either be done by someone else, could be automated, or was actually not necessary and adding anything to the business success. And maybe for the remaining 10 or 20%, it would make sense to hire someone, but it just didn't, justify the price of hiring another full-time person. And after that happened, after this aha moment happened, I just implemented this step as part of the offboarding, like, deleting access accounts and offboarding an employee. I also added like one item to reflect for at least 30 minutes. What can be improved? Even if we have to hire someone new for that, what can we improve? Can we change the job ad and so on?
Amazing. I mean, what you seem to be doing is some real effective reflection and analysis whenever there is a change in your business to repivot, stay nimble, and keeping things fresh, which is really precious. See, one thing you mentioned over there is that 80% of a task is systemizable. As a coach, one thing I always talk to business owners is, in all businesses, 80% of tasks are routine 20% of the tasks are maybe full of exceptions and need to have some human effort. So so systemize the routine, humanize the exception, and that way you can keep staying on top of things, right?
Exactly. And it also helps you once you systemize it, once you have SOPs in place. So we have at InvoiceBerry a few hundred SOPs in place, and we keep on updating them and improving them. But I realized once you have all of that in place, I also could step back, and when I hire a new person for the team, someone else can onboard them. So I'm not involved anymore in onboarding a new customer support or a new marketing person, which just, frees up a lot of my time.
Amazing. Huge thing I like business owners to be thinking about, to kind of become a bit remote, a bit distant, and less dependable on the business. So tell me, as a business owner that's not as ingrained into the day-to-day running of a traditional business owner at the moment, where would you say are your top 3 priorities as a person who's kind of working more on the business than in the business?
I think so again, pivoted a bit, and I think the number 1 priority is obviously to step back, to look at the strategy. What are we doing? We're very good in content marketing at InvoiceBerry, and to generate new website visitors and signups for the invoicing software. So I like to take a step back and look what worked well, what didn't work well, where should we focus more on, and then delegate those tasks. Of course, a lot of things is if you don't do them yourself, you still have to spend time delegating. So I have to write like a project brief, what has to be done, or maybe an initial version of a process brief, what should be done, and then someone else can fine-tune it. And the other thing is I actually like to jump into the product itself, because that's what we're selling, right? We're selling a simpler way of creating your invoices. So I sometimes like to take an entire day or a week to just deep dive into the product and to look at every tiny bit and what are we doing and what could be improved in order to make the process easier. So I don't just want this bird's view, but I also want to do, let's say, what Elon Musk is doing, right? Like he's walking through his Tesla factory and working with his employees. So I'm trying to do the same. I want to go very into detail into one bit of code and say, hey, can we improve this tiny bit of the business in order to improve the customer experience?
Fantastic. So you kind of got like a structure set out for where you're spending your time. Number 1, looking at the strategic stuff. Where is your business going? Where can it go in the future? Number 2, spending time delegating, and not just abdicating, but delegating, thinking about what it is that you want to outsource, writing up SOPs, a bit of a project brief, so the person taking it on knows what to do and how to do it, which is so effective to do. And finally, kind of zooming in and zooming out of your product, looking at a piece of code that needs improving. And hey, we all know the story of marginal gains, right? Small improvements everywhere can lead to something big, can lead to something big. So would you have any examples of, where you've made small improvements to your product, which may have led to a big improvement in your customer satisfaction somewhere?
Yeah, definitely. So we used to focus a lot in the onboarding of InvoiceBerry when a business signs up at businesses that didn't create any invoices. And then I had this aha moment where I said, let's look at businesses that created at least one invoice, but not more. Because that's sort of the person who's very serious. And we used a variety of tools to check people who actually spend 20, 30, 40 minutes in our software and only ever created one invoice, because that's a very interesting customer. And by watching a lot of screen recordings and talking to these businesses, we realized that there was some disconnect between the onboarding and creating the invoice. And there were just tiny fixes. Everyone told us a lot of things have to be changed, but once we pinpointed it, actually there were tiny fixes that took us half a day to implement, and it just got us like I think around 20-25% higher adoption rate.
Wow.
And this is half a day of development work, but obviously weeks of research, if you look at it. And it really helped with the adoption of InvoiceBerry. And in that case, it was just that customers wanted to change their invoice details during the process, their own details, while creating an invoice for a customer. And we've done that, and yeah, it worked wonders.
It works wonders. That's really refreshing to hear. Now let's take a look and step back a bit. Over the last 14 years, clearly you must have come across many challenges on the face of marketing, on the face of sales, whether it's team members. I mean, as you look back over your time, what would you say are your top 3 lessons you'd like to share? It could be anything. Top 3 lessons you'd like to share with the listeners today.
Ooh, it's been a long time. So I think so I have a SEO content marketing background. And as you mentioned in the intro, what we talked about, that I look at business and life as a marathon rather than a sprint. That's why I'm so attracted to SEO rather than running some Facebook ads. And I think a lot of small business owners are very similar, right? They rather have something steady and successful rather than this hockey stick.
Yeah.
And so one thing is with SEO, a big learning I had. I was working a lot for several months when I started InvoiceBerry, and nothing happened. And then I went on holidays with my family, and one day I just got hundreds of people inquiring about it. And the next day again and again, and it just happened that some pieces of SEO finally kicked in 5-6 months down the line. And, I was on holidays, so it's always like that. But so it showed me again that it's a marathon, right? And to not give up. And there are loads of these memes online where the guy is digging for gold and he just gives up this, half a meter before he strikes gold. And I don't know, this is a constant reminder about it for me.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. Some things you just cannot rush. I mean, you can't rush the production of a baby. It's 9 months, it's 9 months. Same with some things in business. SEO, you can't rush it. And it takes us time to plant its seeds everywhere, grow its roots everywhere, and the fruits do eventually come. So
exactly.
Great thing to share over there. What about looking into the future? Now, it is a digital age, and AI, and amongst other AI, other things are changing the way business is done. But let's park the external world aside. Looking at yourself, looking internally, over the next 1 year, what would you think is going to be the biggest challenge your business is going to face?
It might be, so because we rely a lot on SEO, it might obviously be with ChatGPT and the other AI tools. We see not only more content being published daily, but also content that's maybe not good for the reader because it's not really the highest quality, but it's optimized for Google. So it gives some competitors advantages, at least for the time being. So that might be challenging. And I think a lot of businesses have to think about AI and in both directions, how they can use it to grow. So we're also doing that, and we're coming up with new lead magnets where we are utilizing AI. Okay. But we also have to look sometimes at the downsides and how other competitors might be using AI, and we are losing market share that way. And so I do feel that that will keep us busy for the next 12 to 24 months. And we're still very early on. Obviously now, since maybe I think ChatGPT came out around 9 or 10 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. And I think we're still very early there. And businesses, and especially small businesses, are still far away from implementing it. So I feel there's still a very good opportunity to look at, to do a SWOT analysis and to just see, what can be done with AI.
Amazing. So again, got to really reflect, dig deep into thinking, what can AI be used for in your business? But no doubt, it's changing the way you think and you operate. And finally, we're running out of time, but I thought I'd squeeze in one very, very quick question. At the moment, plenty of youngsters here in the UK are choosing to set up their own business or go into entrepreneurialism rather than going the traditional route of going to university. What advice would you give to an 18-year-old coming out of college, looking for the next step in life, whether it's business or career or university? What would your number one advice for them be?
I think I would go for it. So I've never had a real job in my life. I also started when I was 15 years old. So my CV looks very much just being self-employed all my life. So, and I don't regret it. So I think I would go for it. Don't read too many, read some books about business, but don't overdo it. Implement it. While you read, start implementing it. And we're nowadays in a time and age where it's just so cheap or basically for free to try something. When I started, I remember we had games and we had to spend thousands of dollars back then every month to run the infrastructure. The equivalent nowadays would be $50 a month. So to put that into perspective, to try your own business, you probably can start it somewhere between £0 and £100 for the first year. Obviously, you might still live at home, so that's good. Or, you know, a popular thing is obviously to move somewhere more remote, where it's maybe more affordable to live, and, you know, to use your savings for 12 months and to just, you know, give it a go and just try, you know, to make it work.
Amazing. So kind of just go for it and not to get too bogged down in reading and learning, but implement right away. Amazing shares over there. I totally believe in that. One thing my coach always said to me is, Amit, business owners should fail fast because the quicker you fail, the quicker you learn. And
100%. Totally agree with that. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for such an inspirational dose of you sharing your knowledge. But business has grown so much, expanded with lots of internal, in-sourced resources, now operating mainly from an outsourced world to keep things lean and nimble. Love your passion for business. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot for having me on the show.
Pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.